What is up, Copy Squad? Coming to you live on Facebook in Delray Beach, Florida. And today I'm going to talk about all sorts of provocative stuff, some controversial topics. But, you know, it's important to see this stuff and recognize it. And I think stuff like the Gillette ad has brought it to, like, the top of the conversation, right? I don't know if you've seen the infamous Gillette ad basically talking about toxic masculinity. But it's pissing a lot of people off, even copywriters, people who understand advertising and understand that the goal of advertising is to sell a product, are getting very emotionally riled up. And this all goes around to this feeling of oppression, discrimination, and I want to talk about that because, and this is where it's going to piss people off, those feelings are emotional, right? And we sell on emotion, right? You can use that stuff. So anyway, let's talk about discrimination. Let's talk about oppression. And let's talk about the fact that every person watching this thinks they're oppressed. And when I use words like every person, I know some asshole's going to be like, I'm not oppressed. I'm the master of my destiny. Good for you, brother. But everybody else is oppressed, right? Let's talk about in and out groups, okay? Like outsiders feel like insiders oppress them. And insiders feel like outsiders are invading. Certain women feel like certain men have like a dominance in the hierarchy that's inherent in their position, like just by being men, right? And then so straight white men feel like they're under attack by feminism and the Gillette ad and stuff like that by calling them toxic, right? So we got all these things going around. Well, I think what's universal in this is that every single person, no matter where your position or what your group is, in-group, out-group, whoever you associate with, you feel oppressed, all right? And I think that's important to recognize because it's like a fundamental thing of copywriting. I think if you want to understand your audience, you need to understand how they're oppressed. But basically, like older white gentlemen who are nearing retirement is kind of like the financial copywriting customer avatar. And this dude feels oppressed, right? Why would he feel oppressed? Well, who oppresses him? Wall Street. Wall Street oppresses him because he's seen the dot-com bubble burst. He saw the housing crash. And pretty soon he's probably going to see a giant dip in the stock market and a lot of his wealth is going to disappear. Guess who knew this was coming and never told him? Wall Street, right? So it's really about finding out who the villains are in your customer avatar's life, right? And if you're a massive company who's making a massive like global or international or national advertisement, then you're going to go to the broadest stroke possible and you're going to paint an entire gender as one way or the other, right? It's intelligent, okay? And a lot of people are getting their panties up in a bunch because I guess they don't understand advertising and copywriting and they're very emotionally tied to these things. So when you're writing, I think you want to get in the shoes of your customer. You want to think about the last time they were discriminated against. How could they have been discriminated, right? And that's a pain point for them. That's an issue where they feel like someone is keeping them down. Someone is limiting their access to knowledge. Someone is limiting their access to opportunity. Someone is taking away opportunities for success for them. Somebody is specifically holding the key, and that person's not going to give it up. And that's because they love having that power over them. I think the thing is, everything I'm explaining to you and describing is inherent in every person's psyche. Because I get emails about, okay, here's my barrier to entry into copywriting. It's XYZ. I think what's inherent in every person is they all feel discriminated against. All these movements. You could have a movement for every person. And we are starting to see that. Because now with the internet, these groups of people can gather together and they can start to have a dialogue about how they've been discriminated against. So let's talk about where this whole thing came from. Okay, why am I talking about this today? Because I saw something hilarious on the internet. And what it was a local group was dissing a local bar. And there was a woman complaining like, don't go to this bar. It's anti-woman. They don't treat women with respect. And they blah, 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 blah. Maybe her points are valid, but that's the way she interpreted that thing, right? But here's what I know on the inside, as an insider. I know that bar is women-owned. It's a woman who owns it. I know her. She's a great person. She specifically designed her bar to make it more comfortable for women. And this was like a thing that very purposefully did, right? And here's some woman on the internet ranting about how this bar is anti-woman and assuming it's owned by like some white guy who is like a misogynist, right? So it goes to show that the oppression in her brain, the victim mentality, the wrong ship that she's endured is so ingrained that it applies and colors everything she sees in the world. And that is your customer. Your customer is that person. Everything that's ever gone wrong in their life, they've attributed to some villain, some unseen face that dominates their opportunity selection and totally limits everything that they can do. And you should address that, because it's a powerful ally in your copywriting, is to pick out that villain. Men are making me wait to get seated at this bar. They really weren't, but it would take a lot of effort to convince that person that men aren't out to get her. You could just tell, right? It's the same thing with these radical groups online. The foreigners are ruining our country, okay? It's going to take a lot of effort to convince them that the foreigners aren't ruining their country if that's what they believe. But they'll see everything that they see. They'll see every headline, right? You've seen like a debate is watched by two different people, and they're on different ideologies, and they believe their person won, right? So basically, when you're getting in the shoes of your customer, if you can isolate who has oppressed them, who has kept them down, who has discriminated against them, that's a lot of power, right? And it's a touchy subject. I hesitated to bring it up, but I think it's really important that you know how to paint the villains in your copy. I don't know if I have anything, and for us in copywriting and financial copywriting, that is, it's really easy for us to go to insiders, to go to the rich guys, the fat cats, the Wall Street. So think about that insider's look. Like, who's on the inside holding the keys and keeping your customer out? And you can bash them forever, and people will eat it up. They love it. They get emotionally incited by it, right? And that's how people win elections. That's how people sell products. That's how people build cult-like followings that are just absolutely out of their mind and raving mad. It's like so powerful, and it's like a hard thing to talk about, because it's very real and it's very tender. It's a very tender topic, right? So when you're doing your avatar research, when you're doing customer research, or you're thinking about your product, do you twist the knife on the villain? Like, do you really stick the knife in there in your customer's psyche and twist it how you're on their side, is basically what you want to say. Like, I understand you. I think that's one of the easiest ways to, like, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So that's what you're doing. You can breed allies by co-hating somebody, which is something that is abused a lot these days, right? And it causes people to make irrational, like, statements like this bar is anti-woman when it's run by a woman. I think two women who are specifically built it for women. And there's no proof behind thase ideas that people hold about these gatekeepers that keep them locked out. But it is a powerful element in copywriting. But yeah, that's all I got, dude. Go to kylethewriter.com/book. The book is about the big 4 pillars of copywriting, which will basically stimulate the emotional response of your readers. But yeah, villains. Find your readers' villains and make that and villainize them further. Everybody's been discriminated against. Everybody's been oppressed. Thanks for watching, Copy Squad, and I'll catch you on the next video.